So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 13th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Please call the roll.
Krause.
Here.
Uberauer.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Paschal.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Allison Osby.
Here.
Palmieri.
Here.
Present 7, sorry.
All right, very good. We will have the invocation led by Deputy Mayor Krause and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. We come together this evening to discuss the issues that confront our city. May we always seek the wisdom to do things that reflect our concern for the people who we represent. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Okay, this evening we have two proclamations. The first one is the Week of the Young Child, and I believe we have Tammy Danoff here to accept this proclamation. Whereas caregivers helping influence learning and development in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children is celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Week of the Young Child, April 10 through 16, 2021, and whereas the first year of a child's life are the period of the most rapid brain development and lay the foundation for all future learning. And whereas high quality early care and education can help ameliorate the effects of poverty, detect and remediate delays, identify and help prevent child neglect, and lead to positive outcomes for individual children, helping them be better prepared for school and more likely to succeed in life. And whereas these organizations are working to promote and inspire high quality early childhood experiences for our city's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Oshkosh. And whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children, birth through age 8, who make a difference in the lives of young children in Oshkosh deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society. Now, therefore, I, Lori Palmieri, Mayor of Oshkosh, do hereby proclaim April 10th through 16th, 2021 as the Week of the Young Child in Oshkosh and encourage all citizens to work to support and invest in early childhood. Tammy, would you like to say a few words?
I would just like to say thank you on behalf of our local support group Child and the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and that everybody keep children in mind when you're thinking about where they're going during the day when you have your people at work, wondering, just remember where the children are. They are at all sorts of different types of childcare centers, in-home, group centers, and we are often forgotten. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tammy, and I look forward to reading to the kids on Friday.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a proclamation on alcohol awareness. And is there someone here? I believe Sue Ponick was perhaps going to attend to receive this. I'm going to go ahead with the proclamation, and if Sue's here to join us afterwards, that's great. Whereas excessive alcohol consumption is a serious public health and safety concern in Wisconsin, and whereas a higher percentage of adults in Wisconsin regularly consume alcohol than in most other states, and a higher rate of these regular drinkers consume alcohol excessively, also known as binge drinking, at least once per month when compared to other states. And whereas consuming alcohol and binge drinking in particular can have a negative impact on an individual's personal life, professional life, and mental and physical health, and can even increase the risk of developing some cancers. And whereas the estimated annual cost of binge drinking to Wisconsin's economy is $3.9 billion, which includes costs related to lost productivity, healthcare, and criminal justice. And whereas this occasion presents all Wisconsinites with the opportunity to examine their drinking habits and assess the effects on their overall health and well-being, and to utilize resources available on the Wisconsin Department of Health Services website to learn more. And whereas this month, the state of Wisconsin joins the Wisconsin Department of Health Services in supporting the enforcement of minimum legal drinking age laws, highlighting the resources and support available for folks who need professional help to avoid unhealthy alcohol use, and supporting our friends, family members, and neighbors in recovery. Now, therefore, I, Lori Palmieri, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby proclaim April as Alcohol Awareness Month throughout the City of Oshkosh, and I commend this observance to all its residents. Was Sue able to join us? Is there anyone else here to receive the proclamation? We will mail that out in the mail. All right, we will move on to citizen statements to council. Clerk, do we have anyone registered for citizen statements?
Yes, we do. Anthony Kantner.
Anthony?
Hello?
Yes, welcome.
Can I start speaking or?
Yes, you may proceed.
All right, thank you so much, Mayor. Hi, my name's Anthony Cantor, and I'm actually opening an electric scooter store on the corner of Wagoo and State Street next to the Northwestern building. And I'm here to talk about some of the impacts that electric scooters are going to have in our community if we do dockless scooters like I saw proposed in the paper. I'm strongly against it and don't think it's really good for our small community due to the size that we have. I'm here to try to provide transportation for first and last mile and help underclass people who can't afford cars or quality transportation that's reliable and easy to get around. I'm worried that scooters are going to be regulated out, unlike e-bikes, what aren't, that can go much faster, up to 30 miles an hour, and can be used up and down the sidewalks in our streets already. Some of the proposals I've seen from the city attorney already is directing scooters into the streets and not into the sidewalks, something that I don't really agree with, and something that also that even in Appleton, when they just voted recently, they've even agreed to keep them on the sidewalks, except down Main Street, which I strongly agree that we don't have them up and down Main Street where there's lots of traffic and congested pedestrians. That's something I strongly agree with. But I definitely do not think that we should regulate them off into the roads where people will be getting hit and a lot of dangerous things. Main reason I'm against dockless scooters is 80 to 90% of all scooter accidents are related with head injuries. There's no way we can issue helmets to people with these dockless scooters that are going around. They could be thrown into the streets. Even if they had dock stations around the city, people can vandalize them, people throw them around. There's no regulation behind them. There's no way to take care of them. That's something the city of Appleton's going to run into. And that's why I'm a big believer in people personally owning scooters, because then they are accountable for them and they take care of them. So that's a big thing that I'm trying to push in our local community with the first and last mile transportation to help with the decongested traffic of downtown here in Oshkosh. So I'm just here to make statements about how we definitely need to watch, if we do anything dockless or even docked, the negative impacts it would have on our community just because of where they be at, and just to make sure that we don't regulate scooters out into the streets so much where people could be injured and hurt. I mean, you can stop much faster on a scooter, get off it quicker, yield to pedestrians, much easier than a bike. So these are big things I just want the city council to look at and be aware of, so that way we can do the correct impacts as these scooters start flowing more and more and more into our community. Even if we don't or want, people can buy them online, they're going to see them in other cities. So I just want to try, we can implement them in a really good fashion that everyone's going to use them and know the laws and how to use them safely. Where I feel as if we did dockless, we're going to run into a lot of situations and problems because it's really hard to educate people and hold people accountable for how they're going to use them, where they're going to use them, just because people just don't care as much when it's not rental property to property they personally own. And that's pretty much all I really have to say.
Thank you, Anthony, for sharing your thoughts with the council on that item. And do we have anyone else registered for citizen statements to council?
No, we do not.
Okay. We will move on then to, well, I suppose I,
believe
excuse
I
me,
had registered. I believe I had registered to make a citizen statement.
who's speaking?
This is Andrea Svetnica.
Oh, okay. Andrea Svetnica,
Yes.
welcome.
So I just have really brief comment to make, speaking to the No Mow May resolution. Just as a resident of Oshkosh, I had become aware of that in Appleton last when they rolled out the No Mow May resolution, and have seen it expanding to some of our neighboring communities. And I'm just really excited about the potential of expanding it into Oshkosh as well. I think it's like a really simple, easy way that we can make like a positive environmental impact really quickly in our community. And that I'm really hoping that Oshkosh can be a part of it. And that's all I have.
Thank you for sharing, Andrea. I see that we have someone else registered to speak, but these are actually on agenda items that are later in the agenda. So we have 2 public hearings that need to go first, and then
Okay.
we'll come back to public comment, but thank you. All right, so we will go on to Resolution 21-166. Approve submittal of 2021 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Plan Commission recommends approval. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
I move approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Mike Ford and then Bob Heschel. And discussion on Resolution 21-166. All right, seeing none, please take the roll.
Madam Mayor, this is a public hearing. We need to call it 3 times.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that reminder. I will call a second time, 21-166, approve submittal of 2021 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Is there anyone to speak on this item? And a third and final reading, 21-166, approve submittal of 2021 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Plan Commission recommends approval. All right, please take the roll.
Rousey,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Heschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
And we have a second public hearing, 21-167. Approve amendment to Community Development Block Grant 2020 Annual Action Plan for the CARES Act Round 3 funding. Accept and award CARES Act Round 2 funds from the State of Wisconsin Department of Administration. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have anyone here to speak on this public hearing?
No one is registered.
All right, second reading, 21-167, approve amendment to Community Development Block Grant 2020 Annual Action Plan for CARES Act Round 3 funding, accept and award CARES Act Round 2 funds from State of Wisconsin Department of Administration. Plan Commission recommends approval. Third and final reading, 21-167, approve amendment to Community Development Block Grant 2020 Annual Action Plan for CARES Act Round 3 funding, accept and award CARES Act Round 2 funds from the State of Wisconsin Department of Administration. Plan Commission recommends approval. All right. Do we have any further discussion on this public hearing? Anyone registered? Can we please take the roll on 21-167? Yes, a motion and a second, please.
Thank you.
Moved.
Second.
Allison Osby and Erickson. All right, discussion. Councilmember Peschel.
Sure, I just need to declare a potential conflict of interest in regards to the approval of this. My employer is one of the agencies that's slated to receive funds in the round 3 portion. So I'm going to abstain today on this one.
Thank you, Councilmember Peschel. Other discussion? So that was kind of a mouthful. Mr. Davis, I see you're on with us. Is there a brief summary on these CARES Act rounds that you can provide the public?
A brief summary, I'm up to the challenge. If you recall, we've gotten 3 allotments, 2 directly from HUD and 1 from the state of Wisconsin. Last fall and over the winter, we considered all the applications that we got solicited for last year. It spans the needs of the community, and we've incorporated the United Way, the Community Foundation, and other community members to come up with the list of worthy projects of the block grant funds. We awarded about half the money a couple months ago, and we held the other half till now, till we had a better idea what the needs were for the other half of the money. And you can see the round 2 and round 3 is the new awards that are being made today. They range from day-by-day warming shelter to rental assistance to a new program, which would be the Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative Corporation, which is the emergency microfund assistance for businesses impacted by COVID. So that's probably the newest item. The rest of them are all Christine Ann, Oshkosh Kids Foundation, Winnebago Literacy Council, Advocap, the Housing Authority. Their programs and projects that are related to COVID are itemized on that list.
Thank you so much for that brief summary of a very, very long list of items. All right. And can we please take the roll then on 21-167?
Krause,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Abstain?
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
O'Meara.
Aye.
Carried 6, 1 abstained.
All right, then we will return to public comments on agenda items. So this is for those who have registered to speak on agenda items for tonight. And I believe Israel is with us to speak on, what item is that, Mr. Israel?
Hi, folks. I'm here to speak on the No Mo May resolution.
All right, go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you all for having me today. My name is Israel Del Toro. I'm an assistant professor of biology at Lawrence University. My degrees are a PhD in biology and ecology, as well as master's in biodiversity conservation and natural resource management. And I'm here to talk about just this No Mo May issue, since that's sort of been our brainchild up here in the city of Appleton. And it's an initiative now that's going to go on in its 2nd year, and Appleton, as well as several other cities, have already passed a resolution to move forward with No Mo May for this year again. And we'd love it if the city of Oshkosh would join us in passing a similar resolution and sort of jumping on board on pollinator protection. Now, No Mo May sounds a little terrifying to some people, because the idea of not mowing your lawn for an entire 3 weeks is essentially what we're asking people to do this year, can be a little terrifying. We often like our manicured lawns just so, and we think that perhaps our lawns might look a little trashy, or our neighborhoods might suffer from, I don't know, like some of the big concerns last year were we're going to have increased ticks or mice, and none of those things happened in Appleton. None of the streets burnt down. There was no pandemonium or chaos. It was all okay. And in fact, it was more than okay. The results from our data from last year suggest that by participating in No Mo May, areas that were not mowed for the month of May showed 5 times the number of bees and other pollinators than areas that were consistently mowed through the month of May. They also showed 3 times the amount of biodiversity. So that's the number of species present in these yards were 3 times higher than adjacent areas that were mowed. So we are causing a big impact in bee abundance and bee biodiversity in our own backyards. And here, I think the idea is, I'm here to sort of answer any questions that you all might have. I'm here to provide any sort of the data and scientific backing behind this idea. But I also want you guys to think about a little bit about looking beyond the not mowing. No mow May is also an opportunity to educate your citizens about pollinator-friendly protection. So we're going to have a lot of programming over the course of the month of May that is going to provide tips and tools like which natives to plant in our backyard, or how to provide nesting habitat for native pollinators, how to manage green spaces in a pollinator-friendly way. All of these are going to be really important tools and resources that are going to be freely available to your citizens by participating in No Mow May. So I really hope that you all can pass this resolution and support us in protecting our pollinators here in Northeast Wisconsin. And with that, I can take any questions here or later or however you all want to do it.
Yes, thank you. So this is a great opportunity for folks to share their comments and concerns. And I see that we also have, let's see here. Pam, can you help me out here? Who else we have to speak?
Just Andrea and Israel were the only individuals I had to speak on an agenda item.
Okay, I see Shirley Maddox raising her hand. Shirley, were you trying to register? Unmute. I think you're muted. Shirley? We can't hear you. I'm sorry. We'll come back to you. All right. I see that Sue Ponick has joined us too. Is that you, Sue? We did already. Okay, we did already read the proclamation, but I'm glad you could join us. If council will oblige here, Sue wanted to say a few words about the proclamation that we read earlier on alcohol awareness.
And I do apologize, but my internet was down and I just got it back up again. So I apologize for being late. But first of all, thank you. Thank Mayor Palmieri, and also thank the City Council on behalf of the leadership team from Breakwater for honoring us this way by presenting this proclamation to us. As many of you may know, underage drinking and excessive drinking among adults are just two of the serious issues facing our community. And we know that one of the most effective ways of preventing underage drinking and underage substance use in general is to have frequent casual conversations with our kids, starting at around age 8. And I realize that you're thinking, what, age 8? But yes, we need to start that early. By talking with our kids, for some parents, this is not an easy task. So I would invite you all to check out the resource pages that we have at www.breakwaterwi.org to find more information and some tips about how to start that conversation. And again, thank you very much for allowing me to come in late and but also to bring awareness to this very, very important issue in our community.
Well, thank you for joining us, Sue. And I'm going to go back to Shirley. Were you able to unmute on your?
Right. I found this. I found the spot. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I had contacted Diane, and I thought I was going to speak at the beginning and didn't know how to register other than through Diane. I'm speaking on number 21-196, the Great Neighborhoods Capital Improvement Program for Jackson Street. And I would just like to say thank you, and hopefully that your vote will reflect my gratitude. I'd like to thank Alan, Davis, and Alexa for their support all the way through from, I think, 2018. And the approval of the City Council for the study of the safety plan. And tonight, I believe you'll be voting on the implementation, funding the implementation of that. We're historic Jackson, and this is a historic time. It was exactly 20 years ago that our street was turned into a 4-lane highway, and we saw a rapid increase in crashes. Last year, they were down. We had 74 crashes from Church to Murdoch Avenue. And I don't know of any other neighborhood that has 74 crashes. But 2 years ago, we had 106 crashes in our same neighborhood. So the city is finally being responsible and helping to make us a safe neighborhood. And our biggest investment, besides our family, is our home. And the quality of life in our neighborhood affects the value of our home and thus impacts the whole city of Oshkosh. The strength of each neighborhood makes our city that much stronger. Just as a sidebar, a speed board was put up across the street from my house, and so I can see it from my front door. And it's strategically placed where kids cross Jackson from Congress Avenue, which is a huge funneler of students. And I can watch the speeds change. And there was actually somebody going 56 miles an hour. They go in the 40s. But what's interesting is they get closer and closer to the speed monitor. They adjust their speed. So I believe that part of the plan to install speed boards will lead to a safer street for everybody, not just those of us that live here. And also improve the quality of life and hopefully help us get back to that beautiful historic neighborhood that we all remember from years ago. So I thank you, and I support the council in voting to support the implementation of the plan. And thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. And just to ask one more time, did we have anyone else registered or here to speak to an agenda item? All right, thank you so much. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda this evening. We do have a number of items on the consent agenda. I'll take a motion and a second.
So moved.
Erickson and seconded by Peschel. Discussion on consent agenda items. Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. I would like to pull for individual approval. Actually, I don't want to do this, but I feel it's the right thing to do. Is number 30, resolution 21-190.
Okay. Other discussion on consent agenda items. Councilmember Ford.
Yes, I just want to call everyone's attention to item 10, the support for the state budget increase in funding for the shared revenue program. So since 2012, our shared revenue from the state of Wisconsin has been down about 13%. If you look at the resolution itself and go back 2 years, it's down 20%. This is all at a time when overall state revenue is going up. What this does to us as a city is it makes us more reliant on other revenue sources like property tax or fees, or puts us in a bind of having to do service cuts. So I think it's a good thing that we're asking the state to give us a little bit of relief on shared revenue. I think that's a smart thing to do for long-term sustainability. So thanks.
Thank you. Other items from consent. Okay, so with number 30 being pulled by Councilmember Peschel, we'll go ahead and call roll on consent minus 21-190.
Krause,
Aye.
Blugrower,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Ellison Osby,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, and that's through 21-190, approve appointment to Sustainability Advisory Board. Can we have a motion and a second? I'm sorry, Councilmember Peschel.
Was it moved and seconded?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Sure. So the only reason I wanted to pull this is so that I wasn't voting for myself to be appointed to a board because I'm considered I'm being up for appointment to the Sustainability Advisory Board as a citizen. So I guess that's all I wanted to do. So I wanted to be able to vote to abstain. But I'll take any questions if anyone I guess wants to ask them.
All right, do we have any discussion on this item? Please call the roll.
Krause,
Aye.
Blugrower,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Abstain?
Ford,
Aye.
Ellison Osby,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6, 1 abstain.
All right, so moving on, thank you. Moving on to pending ordinances, ordinance 21-192, approve request to attach to the city from Town of Algoma, Jones Park subdivision voluntary attachment. Can we have a motion and a second on item number 32?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a second? All right, Peschel and Ellison Osby. Discussion? Seeing none, will we please call the roll?
Krause,
Aye.
Blugrower,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Ellison Osby,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, next we have 2 new ordinances. There would be no action on these items tonight. Ordinance 21-193, prohibit parking on the west side of Cumberland Trail from 9th Avenue to Greenfield Trail from November 1st to April 30th. Although there will be no action, do we have any discussion on this item? Mr. Olef, is Mr. Collins here with us to speak to the reason behind this?
I don't believe he is. Oh, there he is.
Yep, there he is.
Jim.
My camera work, but yeah, I can. So this is just the first reading. However, basically, Cumberland Trail has a number of rental units on the east side of the street, and there's high demand for on-street parking. So we had quite a few issues, especially during the late winter removal of snow, with cars parked on both sides of the street and a number of curves in the street. So street maintenance, as well as it's also a bus route. So it was very difficult for the buses to get through that area. So currently, by prohibiting parking on that west side of the street, that'll take care of the issue for the street maintenance and the buses in the winter. However, in the future, we'll probably look at addressing the issue of vehicles that have off-street parking, available parking on the street, but that we'll deal with that at a separate time. At least this, though, will allow us to get the vehicles off the street for street maintenance.
Thank you for that detail. Any other discussion on this item? Questions? All right, we'll move on to the next new ordinance. Thank you, Jim. Ordinance 21-194 approves zone change from mixed suburban mixed use. I think that's supposed to be suburban mixed use district SMU to suburban mixed use district with a plan development overlay SMU PD for properties located at the southwest corner of West South Park Avenue and West 20th Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval. And I see Mr. Lyons is here. Might be a good time to ask why we might need a PD for this particular set of parcels.
So this is the former Packers Pub location. Has a bit of a unique geography to that site with 9th and South Park coming in. You've got that peninsular triangle portion of property. When you start to apply the setbacks to that property, it really eats up a lot of the area and can become difficult to develop. A lot of the property already in this area has planned development overlays. As you think west of here as we get towards, for example, the mine shaft area. So this area is looking to redevelop. In order to do so, the applicant has requested that we go to a plan development overlay so they can massage the site to fit a couple of those buildings on. Like I said, that northeast corner of the property would be largely unusable with just the configuration of the property if we didn't go through the plan development.
Thanks for sharing that detail. And again, there's no action on this item tonight, and we will move on to new resolutions. 21-195, approve 2021 operating budget amendment to include neighborhood improvement loan program account for rental rehabilitation projects, $218,000. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Erickson and Peschel. Discussion. Do council members have any questions? Mr. Davis, could we have a brief summary of this item, please?
Absolutely. The history of this funding came from the federal government and was used for a larger rental rehabilitation project, and that was repaid with a 0% interest loan and a balloon payment. And the city has had that in the account waiting for another project to come along that would the developer would be interested in that type of project again. We've had some projects in the pipeline that there might be interest from developers to use these funds and with the strings that are attached to them, and we wanted to make sure these were in the budget should these projects come to pass and the developers want to apply and receive the loan funds, and then we could actually make that loan with the council's incorporation into the budget.
Thank you much, sir. Any other questions, council? Please take the roll.
Krause,
Aye.
Uberauer,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Ospey,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, next we have Resolution 21-196, approve Great Neighborhoods Capital Improvement Programs, funding for Jackson Street Multimodal Traffic Safety Plan implementation, $90,000. A motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Peschel and Erickson, discussion. Mr. Davis, I think we've talked about this before, but just a reminder for folks what that is.
Yes, the city undertook a study, as Ms. Maddox indicated earlier. We came up with several different ideas to improve the Jackson Street corridor. Council approved that at the end of 2020, and we incorporated some of the funding in our 2021 CIP. And this additional $90,000 would ensure that we have the funding available for what we think we need to do regarding the restriping and the speed boards that we were looking to install. Staff will be implementing this later this year, and depending on how projects go, this is our best guess for the budget for 2021.
Thank you. Other questions or discussion on this item? I just have one, and as a follow-up. So this leaves approximately 175,000 left in the Great Neighborhoods 2021, correct?
At least that, and that was one thing we did put in the memo, is that we are soliciting additional neighborhood projects this spring, and I anticipate being able to do that again this fall. The last year has been difficult to get neighborhoods together to put projects together.
Okay, so if neighborhoods out there do have them, what is the deadline for that?
I believe the spring one here is the end of May, and we have not set a fall.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's see, let's take the roll on this item.
Rosie,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, we are now at 21-197. I know you all have been patiently waiting for this one. Designate the month of May as No Mow May. Sustainability Advisory Board recommends approval. I'll take a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Peschel and Erickson, discussion. Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. It seemed like when Israel was talking about the sources where his organization can support the city in regards to educational opportunities, the time wasn't there for him to expand upon that. So I wanted, at the Sustainability Advisory Board meeting, he spent a good amount of time talking about ways that his organization can support our steps in implementing No Mow May. So can we afford Israel some more time?
Council, your pleasure. No objections? Yes, is Mr. Del Toro still with us?
Howdy, folks.
Hi,
well.
welcome back.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you guys longer, and I know you have a lot of business to get to, but one of the really big opportunities here, and sort of referencing the outreach and educational opportunities that we typically do, is basically a lot of dissemination of available information through two big venues. One is our website, byobs.org. And the second is through the Pollinablers Fox Cities. And the Pollinablers Fox Cities is a group of citizens, and here comes my cat, Zoom bombing me at the most inopportune time. Apologies. So yeah, the Pollinablers Fox City is a group of members from the Fox Cities who are out there just sharing information through various social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. My students are actually working closely with these to also put together instructional videos. So things like how to be a citizen scientist and help us collect data about No Mow May and how No Mow May is affecting your community. So if there are citizen scientists that register in your community, I'll be able to give you very specific results about what the bee situation is in Oshkosh itself. But then we're also going to synthesize this data across all of the cities that are participating. So right now we're working with about 13 different cities and municipalities that are going to sort of allow us to pull all this data together to get a bigger picture of what's happening with bee biodiversity in general. So think about it not just about a month of sitting on your bums and just watching the grass grow, but rather think about it as a month to be proactive about bee and pollinator conservation. Get those native plants out there. We're going to tell you what what goes in the ground in your yard. Think about how to provide nesting habitat for bees and other pollinators, what types of plants and attractants you can use to keep our pollinator populations healthy and secure. And we're also going to do videos about dismissing myths. So for example, a lot of folks are like, all bees are evil, all bees and wasps are the same, but all bees and wasps are not the same. And those are the types of things that we want to educate the broader populace about. So we're going to do that through social media, printed materials, and recorded video materials that'll be freely available to all registered participants. Bob, does that sort of address your question? Is there something else you'd like me to highlight?
No, it does. I think the one thing that I thought was interesting and interactive was the way that this isn't just about us passing this resolution. It allows citizens and families and kids to learn more about this and to engage what they learn directly through your website. And I thought that was different than a lot of kind of these type of commemorative types of resolutions that we do in this sense.
Yeah.
Is that there's really a hands-on element to it.
Absolutely. We love citizen science, right? We love, people who register for NOMO May. There is a registration part that I haven't even mentioned to you all, but we will be asking folks to register via a Google form. But folks who register and say, yes, I want a citizen scientist kit, we're going to send you a little pack of information with basically some really, really simple tools and some really simple instructions on how to collect bee biodiversity information, floral biodiversity information right from your own backyard. So you don't have to go far to do science. You can do it and contribute to the greater scientific community just from the comfort of your own home.
Thank you.
Excellent. I have a couple of follow-up questions. So just so I'm clear, if you're going to participate in NOMO May, would you register at the byobs.org or would you register at the Pollinablers, Fox City's website?
There will be links on both websites available.
Okay.
They'll guide you to the same Google form. And one of the other cool things about registering is then you could go to a local point of collection and pick up a yard sign. Basically, the yard sign says, I'm not being lazy here.
Right.
It says something along the lines, pardon my weeds, I'm feeding the bees, and it has our little logo on it, and it basically lets people know how they can participate in NOMO May, but also says, pardon me for the long grass for the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so just one more question, and that is, so if I throw out some like clover seed to feed my lawn and feed the bees, and I don't mow for a month, do any of those citizen scientists come around and help us mow at the end of the month?
No, unfortunately, I don't think there is anybody
Okay.
that's registered to volunteer to help mow. I know a couple of folks have offered to do that here in Appleton, but I have not heard of that happening in Oshkosh. Sorry.
Okay, well, looking for volunteers there. All right, well, thank you very much. Are there other questions for Mr. Del Toro? Councilmember Mugrauer and follow up with Peschel.
Councilmember Peschel can go first if you'd like. It's no problem.
My question actually isn't for Mr. Del Toro, so if you want to go ahead, that's fine.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So my questions kind of come from a place of the community in terms of what residents have come to expect in terms of their neighbors and their yards. It's going to be a concern. I know it was in Appleton. It will be here. Mr. Del Toro, I know you mentioned being part of the Appleton organizing committee and organization of that. Do you know, in terms of, I guess I'll be really blunt, complaints to the city, did they go up in 2020 or the first year? Did they go up? How significantly did those complaints go up? And then how did the city then respond to those? Because I know our numbers in terms of what historically we get in terms of grass complaints, and that's one of the, I won't call it the 7 deadly, but that's one of the big ones for our inspections department, because it can portray a negative image for communities and neighborhoods. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Matt. And gist of it is we had a very slight uptick in number of complaints. I believe when we calculated out a percent, it was a 2% increase in number of complaints that occurred within the first 2 weeks of the month of June. Now, these are lawns that were actually pretty traditionally delinquent lawns. So they had exhibited a prior years of behavior that they were already going to be non-compliant with our lawn ordinances in Appleton. So in response, you know, people were really good about mowing their lawns coming that first week of June. They understand that this is an entirely opt-in voluntary resource. It's nobody's being forced to not mow their lawns. If there is an expectation that your lawn must be manicured to a T, that by all means, that is your absolute right, and you should absolutely continue to mow your lawn as you see fit. But you know, in general, once you get neighbors talking to neighbors and saying like, oh, what's going on? You know, there was a guy in North Appleton whose lawn was the most productive thing I have ever seen. It had a brain of its own. This thing grew to about 19, 20 inches in height over the month of May. And everybody was just like, what is going on, Jose, with your lawn? And Jose is like very, very meticulous about his lawn. It's always like right on it. And then when he started telling people like, hey, I'm doing this for the bees, his whole neighborhood was all behind it, and they completely understood that, oh, this is fine. It's going to be gone in a couple of weeks. It's basically not Jose being a bum or anything. It means that he's doing something that's environmentally friendly. And I think generally there was enthusiasm. And in terms of complaints, he wasn't a registered. Nobody complained against him, despite him having such a big productive lawn. So I think it's all about communicating with your neighbors, letting them know like, hey, it's going to be a little shaggy this next couple of weeks, and here's why. And that's going to limit down the number of complaints in your community as well. I wouldn't expect there to be a large uptick in complaints, as we did not see one in Appleton. Hopefully that answers your question, Matt.
No, it does. I appreciate that. And that's where my biggest concern comes with this one is neighborhood acceptance, as well as just we've laid a good foundation in terms of expectations of compliance, in terms of keeping yards at a reasonable length, we'll call it. We assess fines. Our inspection staff is very responsive here in Oshkosh. 25% of our lawn complaints for the year occur in May. So, and with a wet and we'll call it warm April, I assume that things have gotten off to a green and good start this last week or two, and I'm just concerned about those things and the impacts it has on our inspection staff and city staff. So. I'm cautious. I guess that's where I'm going to put it right now. But appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Peschel? Councilmember Peschel?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Mugrauer, so the Sustainability Advisory Board had kind of asked the question of inspections, whether, the Director of Inspections, whether they would support the foregoing of citations for the month of May, and we got a one-word answer, and it was yes. So it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be issues and stuff like that too, but we have inspections that are on board with it, so that's a plus in regards to that, and open-mindedness. The resolution is written in a sense that this reoccurs on an annual basis at this point. And so it's a learning opportunity for us to kind of look to see what works and what doesn't work and how to respond to that from year to year. It doesn't say that we can't respond in shaping the program from year to year as well. So I was actually amazed, Mr. Del Toro, that there wasn't a larger increase in complaints in Appleton, being that so many people were home during that time, because of COVID and everything. And so the fact that there wasn't such a large increase in complaints, last year in Appleton is, I think, speaks to the productivity and the positiveness of this issue. So I find that interesting. My next thing is more so for staff and maybe Mr. Roloff. He's been quiet tonight. In regards to promoting this to the community a little bit more after if we approve this tonight, making sure that we can get components in about educational components about what No Mo May is, ways that the citizen scientists can be engaged with the websites that Mr. Del Toro talked about, so that there's a greater level of education taking place. And maybe even finding that way to encourage people to use signage in their front yards to kind of easily explain what's taking place. So my question for Mr. Roloff is, what the more time that we provide the community to prepare and learn about this is kind of better in these situations, because it's an abnormal thing, not letting people mow their lawn, or suggesting that people don't have to mow their lawns if they don't want to for a month. So
point of clarification, Councilmember Peschel.
Yes.
I think you mentioned that the word annually was added to the resolution. City Attorney, was that the case? Because I'm not seeing that there. This appears to be staff recommendation of test year, 1 year. Yes.
I think I'll start with that, Madam Mayor. The resolution had been prepared on Wednesday prior to the SAB meeting, and staff had recommended that it only be a 1 year thing because that's what was represented to us. And I guess Mr. Davis can speak to that. And I think the belief was that this was intended to be a pilot, but the SAB did in fact make that recommendation that it be continuously. And that's why we referenced it in the recommendation section of the staff memo that the SAB did in fact recommend that amendment to the resolution to add the word annually, but the resolution that you have before you does not specify that it be continuous. The idea was to be a test year. And I think it would be a great idea if council proceeds with this, that we work closely with the advocacy group so that we do good promotion of this, because to make it successful, you want the information to be out there. And I don't think it's too late, because I think sometimes you get going on it, nobody's really going to notice it until they notice the grass growing a little higher. And not everybody's going to go for that because, number one, it may not be their thing. Number two, they may not be aware of it. And part of it is, can we do some more education to make people aware? But I think staff was willing to try to experiment with this with the SAB. Mr. Davis, I don't know if there was any other, I know there were some internal staff discussions that I wasn't involved with completely, but I believe that was the intent. But on the marketing side, Alan, I'm not sure if there was anything else discussed.
No, but I believe we do have time to prepare any kind of releases, and we'll work with Oshkosh Media Services and the IT department to make sure we do whatever we can to make sure the links and the notices are out to people. We're still probably a month away from people actually noticing the grass is too long in May, because it usually takes a week or two before the grass gets too long.
If I can just jump into, I think the other thing we talked about was, doing it as a test basis and then bringing it back every year so it stays in the front of everybody's mind every year. Otherwise, you forget about it, and somewhere down the line, all of a sudden it's, hey, I got a correction notice. There's this 5-year-old resolution people have forgot about or whatever. If you bring it back annually, it brings it back to everybody's attention annually as well.
Councilmember Peschel.
Yeah.
Councilmember Peschel, and then Councilmember Ford.
Sure. So
and Allison Osby following.
Sure. I don't think you guys would be surprised. I was the one that kind of pushed to amend it to say annually. So I just kind of want to speak to that. Mrs. Lawrenson, Miss Lawrenson, I have no problem with bringing that up every year. I just thought it was going to be easier to just write it into the resolution. But I can understand the test period and such, and so that's fine. I think the SAB is duly committed to to bringing this one up every year, whether the resolution was written that way or not. So.
And staff was also envisioning it kind of like Bird City, where we've
Sure.
done that on an annual basis type of thing.
Okay, Councilmember Ford and then Allison Osby.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So a couple times over the last year, I've stated my discomfort with some of, using our legislative power to sign on to some of these umbrella initiatives originating from interest groups, no matter how worthy. So I do wonder, I'd like to read the room, if there's any appetite for maybe tabling this in favor of a proclamation, just like we did earlier tonight with Alcohol Awareness Month, and combine that with some direction for the city manager to be lax on enforcement of any violations stemming specifically from this initiative. I mean, I wonder if that might be a more appropriate way to signify our support for this initiative without setting that precedent. So I guess really I'd love to ask of the city if that's a realistic route to go, and of my colleagues if there's any appetite for that.
All right, Councilmember Allison Osby, and then perhaps City Attorney could address the questions Mr. Ford brought up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, Councilmember Ford, I hadn't thought of the proclamation idea, but thank you for thinking of that. I know that in the past it may not seem like I'm necessarily, part of the sustainability group, but actually being a Northern girl and a Great Lakes girl, I actually am very environmentally conscious. I actually love this whole no mow May and in regards to the bees, and I have friends that are business owners that healthier bees mean a good business for them. But the couple of issues that I do have with it is, it does contradict city code, and it is potentially a loss of revenue when we're already coming off of a challenging year. So it's not that I don't love the idea, and it's not, in theory, I guess I do support it. But for that, I probably will be the buzzkill and will probably be a no.
Okay, City Attorney, could we come back and respond to whether or not, or City Manager, this could be addressed with the proclamation and or not enforcement?
Yeah, I'll defer a little bit to the city attorney, but because this is not an ordinance, we're really just by discretion not going to enforce that part of the code. Could we do it through a proclamation? I would say, yeah. I would, just point out, just as an example, last year at the beginning of COVID, we stopped enforcing parking violations. We told the council about it, but there was not an ordinance necessarily. We just said it was kind of adopted under general emergency powers, but we didn't suspend the code. So I think we've got the discretion to do it if we understand what the intent is. And I really like the explanation because I think there's a difference between somebody who's conscientiously going through the process to try to help truly pollinate versus other people who say, oh, I'm off for the month of May. By the way, I'm divided on this issue at home. We'll see what I want my boys to mow, but they won't be home until May 15th. So it's at least half no mow May for me. But all kidding aside, we can certainly be flexible if the council wants to do resolution or proclamation, we can go either way. And I'm not sure what the city attorney's take is on it.
You kept long enough. I'm agreeing with you on everything. So it really is a discretionary matter. We have discretion on enforcement, so we can do either direction.
We understand the intent regardless of which method you use.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. I think we have a better chance of creating a buzz about this issue if we pass it as a council and versus a proclamation.
All right, just don't start adding 420 to this, all right? All right. Anyone else? Councilmember Erickson.
I'll just add quick. I just wanted to thank Dr. Del Toro for all the education in this effort and all of the time he's put into this. I think, having it as a resolution at least gives us the chance to, vote on it as a council and have our input. And, I think it's a great opportunity for education for the community and engaging residents in a new topic. So I'm supportive.
Councilmember Ford.
Fair enough. My brilliant compromise there didn't pay off, huh? No, I can read the room, so no worries. I won't offer anything, but I appreciate the input.
All right, please take the roll.
Krause,
Aye.
Mugrower,
No.
I'm sorry,
No.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
No.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 5-2.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for all the participation on that item. All right, we are next on to Resolution 21-198, approved development agreement with Miles Kimball LLC for redevelopment of the Miles Kimball building. And I'll take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Peschel and McGrower. All right, discussion. This is regarding the Miles Kimball building. Perhaps Mr. Davis, you want to start off with a description of what that is? And it looks like we have someone else that signed it. Is that Molly Hildebrand? Okay.
Yes, just to start off, this is the property at the northwest corner of South Main and 9th. It's the old Miles Kimball building. It's a white 4-story building, if I recall. The developers, Molly and Brent Hildebrandt, are proposing apartment units in that building in a historic-ish type of way, keeping the building and adding windows and improvements to the property that will bring that up to, say, today's expectations for these on a multifamily project. This is a PAYGO project for TIF. So the city is not fronting any money. This is all going to be generated by the new increment created with their investment. And as time would go by, we would repay that 90% of that increment back to them on an annual basis, up to about, we're projecting right now about 25 years. And the total PAYGO is estimated to be about $1.15 million over that 25 years. We are holding administrative costs and some infrastructure costs for the city to make improvements at that intersection or at 9th and South Main in the future if we need to. So that's kind of the broad brush of what's going on.
Just a question, and perhaps Mr. Lyons or Mr. Davis or Mr. Lyons, would this end up being a planned development also?
Good question for Mr. Lyons. This has been going through a review process.
Yes, this property, I'm just making sure I'm verifying my information very quickly. I apologize. This property is already zoned plan development and has a prior plan development approval. They will need to come back and amend their specific implementation plan, just because obviously the project is different from when it was approved, I think 2018, if memory serves me correctly. So we have had some discussions with their development team. I believe we have a meeting later this week to go over the SIP amendment process with them. So we'll have to come back for council for that approval process.
So I guess this question then follows up, since that's a previously approved planned development, but they would have to amend. This week we talked at the Parks Advisory Board about Chapter 30 of our zoning code, the parkland dedication requirement and or fees. And apparently with our PDs, that has not been occurring. I guess my question would be then, would there be, given that these are multifamily units, the 900 square feet per unit parkland dedication or fees added in at that point?
So under the way the ordinance is currently written, when it comes to parkland dedication, it has to be part of a land division. So if a land division is taking place that would include a multifamily project, that is where they must do the fees or dedication of property. As this property does not need a subdivision or a CSM to be achieved, they would not have a parkland dedication or fee requirement.
Okay, so there would not be the requirement, but the spirit of that, I guess my question would be for the Hildebrands, is there any, what would you envision the green space or parkland, if you will, for those residents there?
Yeah, we've been talking about that with our team on that, and the green space that we would could envision there would be kind of like a patio kind of style, where people could use that space to kind of hang out and gather around there.
So you're saying a patio, like a paved patio?
No, more, I guess maybe patio wasn't the correct word, but more just like a space where people could gather and hang out, kind of like at a park, normally have there. So it could be like some picnic tables, could be some other places like that there. So.
Yeah, we would need to go back and kind of look at where we're at with those drawings and everything. At this point, we don't have a firm vision as to what that would look like at this moment.
Other council members, questions? All right, please call the roll.
Rousey,
Aye.
Blumenauer,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Eschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have council discussion, direction to city manager, and future agenda items. Looks like we have an organizational meeting on April 20th at noon. Is everyone available to make that? City manager here in council chambers, correct? In person?
Yeah, the council asked it to be in person, and I think we've got a few topics, even though we've got several new council members. Some of the topics that we've put on are future in-person meetings, calendar, so people can look ahead on what items are coming, primarily the budget preparation calendar, because we've got several items there, as well as choices of board and commissions. Diane had sent out a questionnaire for council members to assist the mayor in identifying their preferences. I think we upped it to give 1 through 5 as far as your preference, and I think part of it will be to illustrate some of the challenges we have with that, so the council can have that information and discuss it at the meeting. So we're going to do that. And with respect to the issue about the future in-person meetings, we're going to offer up a different setup, given the fact that it's a relatively low attendance meeting. We know that. We're going to show you about the best we can do to accommodate council in room 406, the main council chambers, so that you get an idea of what it would look like to return to in-person meetings in the near future. So use that as a kind of a test case for the future next Tuesday. Is there anything else, Madam Mayor, that you wanted me to mention, or did we cover those things?
No, I think the responses for council members can just be emailed to me or Diane and forwarded to me either way.
Yeah, we'll
but we,
compile them. We'll compile them for you so that we can show gaps as well as, put it in a good summary for you.
but those appointments probably would not be done right at the organizational meeting, I don't believe.
Typically, they're not.
Right. Just to clarify. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we've got a few future workshops.
Yes, the first one has to do with the subdivision code update, which is, identified some other items, and one of them was brought up earlier with respect to park dedication fees and affordability of single-family housing and issues like that. Given the complexities and how they cross over into different areas, staff is suggesting that we do a joint workshop with the council, the plan commission, and the advisory parks board. And we'd also further suggest that we schedule it for after June 1 because their terms are ending for plan commissioners and parks board members as well as council. So we want to make sure that we've got the current group going forward to have that discussion. So we'll be suggesting that at the various board and commission meetings. Because of the nature of this, the volume of people, without getting into the return to live or not live, this one we feel should be virtual just because of the sheer volume of people that we'll have. We'll have easily 30 people, and to try to do it as orderly as possible, we just think it makes sense to have that done in a virtual fashion, workshop mode. Mr. Davis, is there anything else that you wanted to add regarding that issue, or Mr. Maurer? Because all three of us, as well as staff, other staff, have been involved in this process.
I think you covered it very well. There's a lot of issues, from timing to who pays for what when, to standards that we have for subdivisions and everything in between.
And then might we also request the redevelopment authority members be participating if they wish?
We could certainly invite the redevelopment authority.
Okay. It looks like we also have May 20th for a tentative joint meeting with the school board, 6 p.m.
Yes, and I had an opportunity to, I ran into both Board President Herzog and Superintendent Cartwright, and they're aware of that. So, a couple of things that probably make sense to talk about. The mayor and I talked a little bit about this yesterday as well, but little status report, I think would be in order for the Merrill and Webster School referendum, the projects going forward. I know that planning staff have been involved with discussions with the school board, as school district, and maybe a little update on that. And then I don't see Mr. Collins here, but a little update on how the school busing has been going with the free busing for students. Just get a little update on that as well. So I was planning on breaking it to Jim right here, but I'll break it to him tomorrow morning. But the idea would be to give council and the school board an update on that. If there's any other ideas, certainly welcome those. We'll be keeping them on the agenda through the May 11th meeting. But after that, we'll need to, provide an agenda so that both bodies are aware of topics for discussion. But those are the two that I have right now.
Councilmember Mugrauer.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing with that meeting, I just want to, point out or ask of staff, specifically Mr. Roloff, if you could reach out and talk to Dr. Herzog, Dr. Cartwright. The last meeting was very one-sided, and that's not really fair to the school board. So I just want to make sure that they're actively participating in the agenda as well, so that there's a two-way conversation.
Very good. That's
All
all.
right, and I guess my question would be, given that Dr. Cartwright is moving on shortly thereafter, is there a reason why we would not wait until there is a new superintendent, or might that be sometime? Perhaps that's not yet planned.
My understanding is that their goal is to have a new superintendent by July 1. And that's certainly up to the council. The council and school board had agreed at the last meeting that they wanted to have a meeting in May. So right after the new council got seated. And so that's where we're working towards. We can certainly delay it. I guess I would defer to council on that. That was something that was council's direction at the time. So I guess I'll leave it to council, or we can leave it to we can add it to the org meeting or the April 27th meeting as well for discussion if you'd like.
I'd prefer
Councilmember Ford?
city manager roll off. I'd prefer that we had it. I think there's a logic to having it, even if with the new superintendent coming in, if the board knows the issues that matter to us, I assume that's something they'd communicate with the new superintendent. So.
Okay.
Everybody okay with the May 20th then? All right.
We'll keep proceeding. If you got any other ideas, again, we'll keep it on the agenda now through May 20th. So if you got any other suggestions or ideas, and I take Councilmember Mugarauer's comments, I'll pass that along, and we certainly want them to be engaged. When I did talk to Dr. Cartwright, the Merrill-Webster projects, that is really more of them reporting to us on what they're doing. I know Mr. Lyons and his staff have been involved with them so far. So I think that'll keep them active for that meeting.
And I guess I would just ask too, if there are any staff reports or supporting information, that those be like included ahead of time, as we would other agenda items. I know perhaps that might have been overlooked in the last one. So hopefully we'll have that available. And then it looks like we have a special assessment hearing May 11th. Where will that be and when?
Thank you for asking. It kind of goes back a little bit to the discussion about the future of in-person meetings. Given everything that's happened, the council, it granted me authority to, keep the meetings virtual. And at this time, my intent is to take the meetings virtual through May 15th, which is actually a Saturday. So basically the first meeting in May. I needed to do that because we have meeting notices that we need to put out and let people know, including this one in particular. So this was driving it as much as anything. So the intent would be the hearings themselves would be virtual. And I'll get into, in terms of how we deal with May 11th for the special assessments, one of the things that staff is working on right now is we are contacting everybody that's going to be impacted by special assessments for this year and inviting them to their choice of a meeting, a socially distant meeting in person, where we would use the convention center, lots of space, where they could talk with one of our engineers one-on-one in a very safe atmosphere, or alternatively, if they wanted to do it through a virtual meeting like WebEx or something, that we could accommodate them as well. Get all of that done in advance of the meetings. Our experience has been most items are really more questions related to the specifics of the project. When are you doing my driveway? And then maybe getting into a few details of the assessment, which has oftentimes put council on the spot, and then you defer to staff. Certainly we want to respect their ability to contest, question the special assessments, and we could do that. But I think, given the fact that, we've had some public hearings successfully in the virtual mode, I think we can do that successfully on May 11th for the council to have the formal public hearing where the mayor calls 3 times and all that. But we'll give ample time to residents to meet with staff to iron out any of the details that typically are not answered by council, they're answered by staff. We'll get all that stuff out of the way so that we're at May 11th, you'll focus, exclusively on the legislative policy issues associated with it. I think we've got a good setup for this. And given what we did last time, if you recall, we did it at the convention center. It was very distant and masked and a little awkward. Very few people showed up because our staff did some of that already. So I think we can do that and successfully do it in a virtual setting. As far as we go forward, yeah, the reason I'm suggesting that it be on the organizational meeting agenda or no later than the April 27th agenda is, we're gonna have a new council. I appreciate direction from the new council on how they want to move forward on this, but I want to keep them virtual through May 15th, and that's all boards and commissions. And then either next week or following up on April 27th, get some direction if we're going to continue those. Vaccine numbers are up, but the volume is slowing down, as we're going to talk about in a few moments. But I just wanted to kind of lay that out for you.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have the report of council liaison for boards and commissions. Do council members have reporting? I have two. The first one is the quarterly boards and commissions meeting that myself and Mr. Roloff hold with the chairs of the boards and commissions. Greatly attended. We basically have updates. We talk about attendance. We talk about openings. Whose needs are needing attention. And I just want to mention a couple of things that came out of that, and that is the reminder of a flow chart that's coming soon for the boards and commissions to have a better understanding of their interaction with council on resolutions and recommendations. Sounds simple, but not so much. So hopefully we'll have a visual and a little clearer onboarding for that coming up soon. And then there was a recommendation that came from one of the chairs that the Board of Zoning Appeals possibly change as needed. I guess currently, and the reason was to make it more accessible for folks, because there tended to be a midday time that wasn't necessarily convenient for everyone. So that was one of the recommendations coming out of that meeting. And then the Parks Advisory Board met Monday evening. There was some review, again, exciting things coming along on the Four Seasons building at Lakeshore, and the decision that the bathhouse at Menominee Park would not open this year. There are some significant repairs as well as some other concerns with that structure. And then the lengthy discussion on Chapter 30 and parkland dedication, as was mentioned earlier. So those are the two items that I had. Other council members? Councilmember Mugrauer.
Thank you, Mayor. And actually, it's not a board and commission one. It's just a really brief statement. I didn't look like any other board council members had raised their hands. So I just wanted to give a quick, I'm not a huge fan of the word shout out, but I'm going to give a shout out, or at least a congratulations to the election staff, City Clerk Ubrig and her staff, Ms. Jockel and everyone there, all the volunteers, all the poll workers. Obviously, last Tuesday we had an election that affected many races locally, of course, and without a hitch, without any issues, the Oshkosh election staff was reporting numbers within minutes of polls closing. The poll workers did a fantastic job that day, and just wanted to give a lot of thanks and credit to Pam and Angie and the whole staff for everything you guys do to make those things go off without a hitch. Oshkosh is an example for any other community in the state of Wisconsin, and I'll even say nationwide, but Oshkosh is an example of how you run it well, and how you report numbers real fast and real accurate. And so congratulations and thank you.
We can't see her blush with the long shot of her, but
we
yes,
know it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's very appreciated. And also, I don't know if she's with us or not. I think I do see Darlene Brandt, just an announcement. Darlene is retiring after many years of tireless service to community development, and she will be missed. And I just wanted to give a little shout out to Darlene.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. She'd been here so long. I was in my freshman year of college when Darlene started working here.
All
That's
right,
how
Mark.
long it was. That's all. Yeah, it's a long time. I had dark bushy hair way back then. It was a lot longer than this too. It was
Councilmember-
1979. Village people were all the rage, and Darlene started with the city.
Okay.
Councilmember Allison
Darlene's still not
Osby.
showing her face, by the way.
All right, I'll show my face.
I just want to say congratulations to Darlene, and then maybe perhaps a suggestion that she partner up with Jackie Chalice and write a book.
Yes, yes, Jackie and I have a lot of knowledge of City Hall. Yes, we do. Thank you.
So Darlene, I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you care to share a couple of, I don't know, reflections or share a few words with us?
Oh, it's been an honor to work with a variety of people at City Hall and throughout the community. And I have learned a lot, gained a lot of experience, and I hope I have made some improvements in the community by working with the block grant program and providing some funds out there. So thank you all very much.
Not an easy task dealing with all those federal regulations, as Mr. Peschel would probably agree. All right. Oh, I see clapping hands. I haven't learned how to do that on here. I want to learn. All right. Great. Wonderful. Any other statements from council members? All right. Let's go on to city manager announcements and statements. City manager Roloff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for, even though you stole a little bit of my thunder for Darlene, thank you for bringing it up. I was just going to use the village people reference, so that just, but Darlene's done a lot to improve the processes and to make our community development block grant program, very successful. So once again, thank you. That's great that Darlene stuck around to hear all that. A couple things in your agenda packet I want to point out. Annually, we provide a report of vendors that have received over $300,000 or more in 2020. A lot of these are pass-throughs with taxes and things like that, but also large contracts such as capital improvement programs and things like that. But certainly happy to answer any questions. But these are, we changed our purchasing policy a few years back, and we felt it was appropriate to have this type of reporting. And I think that was something that the Long Range Finance Committee had signed on to many years ago. I will date Council member Allison Osby for being part of that group that actually pushed that forward in the, I won't say the dark ages, Deb, but it was a while back. But I think it's a good way to hold ourselves accountable for where we spend our funds and to be transparent to the public about those things. Happy to answer any questions on that. I'm going to put City Clerk Ubrig on the spot just a little bit. We do have on the agenda next step on inactive licenses. And really what we want to point out is we've had a number of establishments that have closed, and they really closed pre-COVID. And last year at this time, we felt it was don't add any, insult to injury. And a lot of those we overlooked, but we do have some inactive licenses. And it may be appropriate to have consideration of some of those for non-renewal. There is a specific process that is prescribed by state law and recommended by the city attorney on how we do it. But I think it's time that we start looking at some of those. And that's just part of the process. And there are a few liquor licenses that we have. Pam, do you recall how many inactives we have that we should perhaps bring forward to council to at least review?
There's a listing in the agenda. There's 5 of them. There's 2 that have been the oldest, which is the brass rail and Whiskey's.
So you can see.
Sorry.
And didn't we extend those previously?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
The brass grill, they've been closed since May of 2017. There is a new ownership, but he has not opened the doors. And then Whiskey's, they closed in October of 2019. And he does have some issues with the Department of Revenue and such.
So those five are there. Thanks for pointing those out. So one of the things I think we've been successful in recent years, and we don't need to get into the specifics on any of these because statutes dictate that they actually have to go through a hearing if we're going to revoke them. Now, if they never reapply, we don't have to worry about them. But as it says in the packet, the renewals were mailed out on March 17th. They're due back on Thursday. So we'll see if they do reapply. We may have to look at, consideration of non-renewal, or if they don't reapply, then it's no harm, no foul. We don't need to do anything. I will point out that in recent years, as people have approached the city about inactive licenses, I encourage them to turn them in. And then, pretty much the idea is if something comes open, we'll make it work for you. And if we have 5 licenses like this that are actually in play, then things start to rotate themselves and the market dictates who gets them. Council approves them, make sure everything is okay, but without giving as many people the opportunity to use the licenses actively, if we recycle them, it just makes it for more robust economic activity. And I've had that experience, and I know Mr. Davis can attest to it. When we were both in Grand Chute, it worked that way very well, and nobody really had to wait for a license. So I think we've reached that point. So I just leave that with you as food for thought. And we'll see what happens after Thursday. But I wanted to get the ball rolling on it for council to at least start thinking about it. Outstanding issues are also in the packet. And we've got a handful of things that needed some first quarter reporting, given the shortness of the week and the elections and things like that. We didn't have a chance to get it on the agenda, but you can see a couple things, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. The idea is to give you quarterly reports on the annual goals, and we're making some good progress on some of those. I just had a conversation with Molly Butz today about day by day and some of their upcoming plans as well. So we'll be having some updates for you shortly. Mr. Maurer asked that I put number 45 on the agenda, that we have every intention of having the Festival Food Fireworks Show return to Menominee Park. I believe Mr. Maurer has gotten the contract taken care of. Ray must already left, but that we've got that going. So let's bring it back. And I think without sawdust days, I think there'll be more room for the public to kind of spread out. And I think there'll be some opportunities to do socially distanced as well as, make it a very family fun event. So July 4th. Go ahead, Mayor.
Sorry, City Manager. I just wanted to acknowledge Councilmember Ford there.
Yeah, sorry, you were rolling, Mark, so I didn't want to.
Okay.
But actually, this is going back to the vendor report. I just noticed on there the city of Oshkosh appears, and I wonder if you might be able to explain to the public why the city of Oshkosh would appear as a contractor or vendor for the city of Oshkosh.
Typically, hang on a second. I want to get to the page because that'll.
I got it.
Oh, he is here, Mr. Van Gompel.
Yeah.
He's on a 2-hour leash, everybody. So, just letting you know. Go ahead, Russ.
Councilmember Ford, this is an item that I need to address, and I've been working with staff. Unfortunately, we still issue checks to ourselves, which is kind of not very productive. There's better ways of us getting money between different activities. And that's one of the things I'm working on.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you. Glad you're working on it too.
And yeah, you're welcome. Happy to do it. Thank you, Russ. Let's see. We did fireworks, COVID-19 update. I see that Chief Stanley put on his video. So welcome back, Chief. I guess I'll start because I know Chief's been out of town for a couple of days. The big issue right now is vaccines. And I can report to you that there are spots available at Sunnyview Expo Center for vaccines. I know there's some concern, with the hesitation with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine being temporarily pulled. That was done with very few cases, but it's a precautionary thing that public health folks did. County Health at Sunnyview is doing Moderna. I can say I got mine last week and I'm doing just fine. And I volunteered today to be a greeter at the vaccination center. And I would think that if any council member is interested in doing that Mr. Guerin and his staff would love to have you. And I got to observe some things, and it's been very efficient. As a person who got it last week, it was efficient. Watching it today, there were some, when people couldn't get the Johnson & Johnson, I believe at one of the local pharmacies, they signed up, they got in line right away. There was a little bit of a long line for like 15 minutes, and then the lines went away. Very efficient. You get in, you get out. And we got some good publicity. We got some media coverage for today. So real positive, and I encourage people, don't be hesitant because you think you got to wait until the line thins out. The line's thinned out. It's time to go get your vaccine. And if we have a problem with demand, we'll let you know. But right now, pretty much you can get a vaccine if you make a reservation. Chief, anything you want to add?
I would just throw in there that in concert with what you said, keep the momentum going. The health department reported today that over 37% of the county has had at least one shot in the vaccination series, and just a little tick under 25% of Winnebago County has had both shots. So, they're giving out lots and lots of vaccines. The very high numbers for the 65 plus age group, almost 85% of the population in the county has been vaccinated. So, as we continue to make it more accessible to others, keep that momentum going. So as the city manager said, get out there, get your shots.
And unless there's any questions, I think, happy to answer them. Chief Stanley snuck an item last on the agenda to do a little commercial message for their new fire engine. So I think we can maybe indulge Chief Stanley for a moment to talk about his new fire truck, which was in our capital replacement program. I'm just teasing him a little. It was long overdue, and we work very closely with Pierce Manufacturing to get these trucks, and they custom make them for our needs, and they're right up the road. So we have a very good experience working with Pierce. Chief, anything else you want to add before you roll the tape?
Yeah, just thanks to our friends and colleagues over in Oshkosh Media for being there for this dedication, putting the video together. We're very proud of this fire engine being put in service to service our community, and thanks to City Council for their support and vision and including it in the capital improvement plan, like the city manager said, so that we could make that occur.
This is our new Engine 15. It's located at Station 15 over on Court Street. We got some pretty exciting changes on this truck. First of all, it's a new chassis, new kind of fire truck, a little bit different look than some of our older trucks. And along with a different style of truck, we also have a new look to some of our graphics. We have black stripes now instead of white. And we have a new logo for the fire department on the door of it. Well, in the fire service, there's a lot of attention being drawn to some of the toxins that become absorbed into our gear. So our gear, that's those heavy clothes and our helmets that you see us wearing when we go into a fire. So the smoke in the fire is very toxic and has a lot of carcinogens, causing some very high cancer rates among firefighters. So this truck has what's called a clean cab concept, which means that dirty gear does not go in the cab anymore where we sit. It goes in exterior compartments, and it protects us from contact with that dirty gear until we can get the gear cleaned and processed. One other thing we can show you is that on previous fire trucks, you would see the pump panel, so where all the controls are for pumping water. On these, it's more concealed. It's behind the door, this roll-up door here. Our pump controls are somewhat new. The fire pump is run by a computer, and that computer regulates the pressure and also has some fail-safe features. So if the truck runs out of water, for example, when you're pumping with it, it will actually turn itself off and alert you that you're low on water, so you can take care of that situation right away. So on our older trucks, some of the equipment that we carried was unfortunately just kept loose in the cab because you didn't have room for it or a good container for it. So our new trucks have cabinets built specifically to retain this gear, and then some safety nets. So in the event of a collision, the gear doesn't go flying around and injure anybody inside the cab. So our new fire apparatus comes equipped with these headsets. They're rechargeable. They just kind of plug in. They protect the occupants of the cab from loud noises such as our sirens and air horns. And when the firefighter or the officer go outside the truck, they can still communicate with the driver. So for example, if they're backing the fire truck into a tight spot, instead of using hand signals, we can now communicate directly with the driver for a safer operation. We're really excited to have these new trucks in operation. We put a lot of miles on our older trucks, and they were definitely due for replacement. One other exciting thing today is that today was the first day of our 4 new staff members. So this is our first day here at the OFD, and this is the first day for this truck here at the OFD.
Hey, Chief, for the benefit of council and for folks watching, could you explain the yellow hose that detaches from the truck and what that's about? I know, but I want you to, share that with the council so they get an understanding of one of the safety features that we have in our fire stations.
Yeah, absolutely. All of our stations have that. It's an exhaust system because the fire engines put off diesel emissions. And that buildup and being vented into the fire stations over the years, is a tremendous carcinogen that leads to firefighter cancers. So we are very fortunate that we have that system here in Oshkosh that sucks it out of there. As soon as the fire engine turns on, it turns on automatically, sucks it out of the station, so that we don't have that buildup.
And the magnet hangs on until the truck pulls far enough away, and then the magnet detaches, and by then the exhaust is not getting in the building, it's going outside. Also keeps the buildings very clean. I've learned that over the years too. So Chief, that was a big thing for Chief to get the venting systems redone after he first got here. So it's a great safety feature, and I thought it was a great opportunity because Lieutenant Greg Stelter, who did an awesome job there, the hoses got a little bit in the way with a little bit of his presentation. So they're there for a reason. So thanks, Chief. Anything else you wanted to add?
Just one other thing to note, Greg talks about the fire engines, that the next day we put engine 19 in service. So it's a twin to that engine, same exact make, model, and look. So we were able to put 2 new fire engines in service this year through our CIP. So again, thank you for the foresight and the support on that.
I guess I just have a question. So will that be the truck in the 4th of July parade?
Most likely it will be, that usually because of the location of the parade, and we use engine 15. So traditionally we've done that, but certainly with it being new, we want to show it off to the community. So either it or engine 19 will be in the parade.
Well, thank you.
And Madam Mayor, that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Council, any questions? All right, it looks like we will recess until noon on April 20th, 2021. Quick parliamentary inquiry, city attorney or clerk. Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, we do.
All right, please call the roll.
Krause,
Aye.
Muglauer,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Allison Ospey,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
carried 7. We are recessed.
Thank you,
Devin Bob's
everyone.
last vote. So long, Devin Bob. Jake too.
Thank you so much.